Hey, what's up guys, OSJ here with a video that was widely requested when I did the video on C64 games after the C64. So the Amiga list was way more complex to make, as there have been literally hundreds of great games released after the discontinuation of the Amiga in 1996. There were some games like Worms, Director's Cut, Snowbloss, etc. that I didn't include, as these games were actually developed in the Amiga's lifetime. And I also have discounted games like Quake and some others that you would have to be as rich as Elon Musk to build your own Amiga to play, and really even in emulation are a right mess on to get working. Anyway, I called upon the knowledge of Amiga Bill, who was a premier Twitch Amiga streamer, and Jamie from Morgan Just Games, who was my favourite Amiga YouTube streamer, to help me make the list. So we wound up with 30 games in the shortlist that I played back to back, then whittled them down to 20 and ordered them. But really, one of the reasons for this video is I'm so excited about the upcoming game from Graham Cowie, and that's Devil's Temple. I've been a fan of Graham's games ever since I first played Bomb Jack Beer Edition, and now he has took on the task of bringing Kung Fu Master to the Amiga. It does, of course, have the Graham Cowie twist to it, and definitely has a feel of Vigilante 2, which was one of my favourite arcade games, but one of my least favourite Amiga games. I have had the privilege of playing the work in progress version of this game, and it's awesome. Anyway, more of that in the future. Let's take a look at the 20 best Commodore Amiga games released after the Amiga in order of greatness. Kicking us off in 20th place, we have Zerosphere. So this was a late entry to the list and was suggested by Jamie. It was between this and Skill Grid, which Amiga Bill had on his list, but between the two, this one for me is better. But it's a weird one though, with that stretch effect. I spent the first 5 minutes thinking the game had glitched, but then realised it was just some great coding. Anyway, Jamie is a great gamer, and this is one pretty damn good game too. Next up in 19th place we have Rotator. This was on both Jamie's and Bill's list, and again it's one that I have never played before, and at first wasn't keen, but the more I played it, the more I got used to the unique control of the game. I say control, but it's more like fluke if anything to get places for me. It's a great looking game though, and should only be played if you don't have high blood pressure like me, as it nearly tipped me over the edge. Turbo Tomato was in 18th position. So this Psycho Pigs type game came from a friend of the Amstrad community in Nivrig. I was never a big fan of the Psycho Pigs game in the arcade, but after this hit Andstream I played it and liked it. Obviously it's not really showing off anything new graphics wise, but the gameplay is so fast and smooth, and it's a super fun game in one player, but even better in two player. In 17th place we have Knightmare. So I remember Knightmare on TV, and I also remember the game, so at first when I heard that Hoffman was working on a game called Knightmare, I was expecting Rygars and co, but no, what we got was a shoot 'em up. Could be called a run and gun, but really it's not. As you know, I love shooters, and this one, whilst being a bit slow, is a quality game and one that I play quite often. Again, graphics wise not the greatest, but gameplay wise it's brilliant. 16th place is taken by Bridge Strike. So as we go through this list we will see a lot of remakes or clones of great games, and Bridge Strike is cloned from the absolute classic in River Raid from the Atari 2600. I used to love this game when I was young, and I was so thrilled it had been updated, and you know what, it's kept that great gameplay that we all loved on the Atari, but now has some lovely colourful graphics and super smooth scrolling. Payback is in 15th position. Now, being around when GTA first came out, I often wondered whether the Amiga could have managed to run a GTA game, and in Payback it shows it could. There's a problem though with the frame rate, but I have had it on good advice that it can run smooth with a bit of tweaking. And although it was choppy, I sort of didn't notice it while I was playing it, which is weird because I really noticed it watching it back. Anyway, well worth a go if you like GTA 1 and 2. In 14th place we have Blitz Bombers. Obviously at first glance this is a Bomberman clone, but it's slightly more than that. It's a puzzle game that uses a Bomberman formula. Anyway, whether or not it's ripped Bomberman off, it still doesn't change the fact that this is one of the most entertaining games on this list. I actually played this for hours the other night and the difficulty ramps up, but still doesn't get boring and frustrating like some games in this genre do. Reshoot R is in 13th position. Right, so this is a game that hit the Amiga a few years ago and I never really played it until it appeared on Andstream. The first time I played it I have to admit that I wasn't keen, but the more I played and the further I got, the better it got, and now it's a firm favourite of mine. It's hard to describe the difficulty on this game though, because it goes from a walk in the park to walking on hot coals in seconds, and with it only being one life may frustrate some people. In 12th place we have Tank's Fury. So this one was recommended by Amiga Bill, and when I first loaded it up I wasn't sure what to expect, but what I got was an awesome game in where I had to defend my village against a whole lot of enemy tanks. I played this for a long time while making the decision on the final list, and it never got boring, just harder. I only played one player though, but I can see that two player being brilliant in this game too. Eleventh place is taken by Bubble Heroes. This concept is an old one being used in Puzzle Bobble and Bust a Move etc. So to get on the best games list it has to be executed to perfection, and I would say in Bubble Heroes we got just that. The ball angles work just right and the pixel perfect collision detection means that you can squeeze balls up through the smallest of gaps, which is something that a lot of games of this type fail in. If you like the likes of Puzzle Bobble then go and give us a try, it's awesome. 10th place is taken by OnEscapee. Right, so out of all the games on this list, this one for me was probably the biggest surprise. Being a Flashback and another World fan, I can't believe that up until the last few weeks I had never played this. As you can see it's got that Delphine style, that's for sure, and it's a good game. The only problem I have with it though is that it's not as intuitive as the Delphine games and you often get stuck wondering what to do next. Other than that, it's brilliant. In 9th place we have India. This is another game that on any other system would have been higher up on the list, but the Amiga had some great shooters and I can't help but compare this and Reshoot to the likes of Apidia and R-Type etc. So although it's a cracking game, it would have to be super special to stand out against those games. That being said, it still holds its ground in the shoot 'em up category and will bless most people's top 10 shooters on the Amiga list. Eighth place is taken by Rygar, Legendary Warrior. As I said at the start of this list, it was inspired by the upcoming game from Graham Cowie, and Rygar is his last outing on the Amiga. What he'd done in this game is take an arcade that for some strange reason didn't get an Amiga port and give us what can only be described as a true arcade experience in our homes. The reason it's not higher is that I was never a Rygar fan. It was just too hard for me, and this one is even harder, but as far as arcade ports go, they don't get much better than this. Putty Squad is in 7th position. So this one is a weird one as it goes against everything I said at the start of this video, as it was apparently finished in 1994 and never released. The thing is that everyone knew this game was out there somewhere, then in 2013 System 3 released it for free and it's an absolute cracker. We weren't the only ones not to get it though, as the Mega Drive and PC versions never came to fruition either. In fact, the SNES version was the only official release during the system's lifespan. Weird that. 6th place is taken by Tiny Us. so Amiga never got a port of Gradius, or as we knew it over here in the UK, Nemesis. So I can still remember when my mate Lucas Rainford came to me so excited about this game as it's one of his favourite arcade games. It is, as we have come to expect from Pink Abyss Games, totally awesome, and I would probably say it's the best home version of the game, which when you think of how good some of the home ports were, that's pretty high praise. Simon the Sorcerer II, The Lion, the Wizard and the Wardrobe is in 5th position. I'm sure that Simon the Sorcerer needs no introduction, but not many people know that this sequel was released in 2000 for the Amiga. Whilst it never quite lives up to the original, it is still a truly brilliant point-and-click adventure game with all the wit and adventure that we came to expect from these games. So if you like the original, then I guarantee you will love this.
Oh yes. Well, you see that dog poo? That's you, that is. That's your favourite food.
Just shut up, will you?
In 4th place we have Wasted Dreams. For me, this is probably one of the best looking games I've ever seen on the Amiga. It's a beautiful adventure game that has some of the nicest cutscenes I've ever seen in a game, never mind on the Amiga. You are thrown straight into a savage land after crashing your ship, and from then in the game has you totally hooked. Up until about a month ago I had never known about this game, but now I do. It's one of the games I've spent the most time on.
It's very hard to estimate their intellectual power through this aggressiveness.
3rd place is taken by Bombjack Beer Edition. So this is the first game I ever played from Graham Cowie and I absolutely loved it. Bombjack is in my top 3 favourite arcade games of all time, and the Amiga version was rubbish in my eyes. But not this one. This one is as much fun if not more than the arcade. I only just connected that this level here has a local monument called Pension Monument 2, as Graham lives around 10 minutes away from me. Worthy is in 2nd position. I contacted Pixel Glass and they sent me a download of this game after it was suggested by Amiga Bill, and my god, what a polished game this is. I had already seen screens of this game and it didn't really appeal to me, but after hours of playing it, it's definitely one of the best retro puzzle games I've ever played. Yes, even better than Benefactor, and it's definitely one of the best Amiga games I've played ever too. And now, in 1st place we have Tiny Bobble. Now it's not very often that a home version of a game outdoes the arcade, and even less common when it's an absolute classic arcade, but I think that Pink Abyss really knocked it out of the park with this one. I mean, I love the arcade and it will always have a special place in my heart, but for me this is a version that I would play now as it's just so complete. From the updated music to the smooth as butter gameplay, this is one quality new release on the Amiga. Okay, that's it for this video. It's been a real treat for me to play so many great new games, some of which never even made the list. I may do an update on this list in the future, and I'm sure that what I've seen so far from Devil's Temple, it will be on there near the top. Let me know in the comments below if you think I've missed any great new games, and please remember to drop this video a like and subscribe to my channel for more great retro content. Oh, and if you would like to support the channel on Patreon like this bunch of quality people going up the screen right now, get on over to my Patreon channel where you can pledge for as little as $1. That will get your name in the Amiga Crack Draw, end credits, video requests and more in the future. Till next time, this is OSG signing out.